Hello, I'm Greg Crow, and you're listening to Episode 1 of Audio Off the Shelf, the podcast where I play a handful of tracks from my physical collection. Everything I play in this show comes off the vinyl shelves in my living room, off the CD shelves in my basement, or out of that box of cassettes I keep on the shelf in the storage room. There were a couple of points of inspiration in the creation of this new podcast, and one of them was my good friend Mitch King Kong Jurio, who does a podcast of his own called Are You Receiving Me? Now, Mitch is someone I respect very much, and I would like to invite you to check out his show, which can be found on Mixcloud. So, I think it only fitting that the first song of the first episode should be one of his. From their 1997 self-titled cassette release, this is Toronto-based band Sound System with Dental Surgery.
I know it kills your sons and daughters. So white and clean, like the dental model dream.
That was Dental Surgery by Sound System from their 1997 Skud Records independent release. I remember where I got this cassette. My buddy Jeff bought it at a gig that we were doing with Sound System in Sudbury, Ontario. When we got home back to Winnipeg, he asked if I would like to borrow it, and I never gave it back. That was 23 years ago. Sorry about that, buddy. So yeah, Mitch was one point of inspiration, but also my students are a point of inspiration. I'm a music educator here in Manitoba, and a number of my students are headed into remote learning as we start 2021. And music education is hard to keep going in a remote learning paradigm. So I gave the students a list of projects that they could do during the remote learning period, and many of them chose to do a music-based podcast. So many as such that I decided I would try my hand at it as well. For this next track, I wanted to pick something that speaks to students in learning and education. So I'm going to play something from one of my favorite albums of all time. It's the 1984 Hüsker release, Zen Arcade, and the lead track, Something I Learned Today. That was Something I Learned Today by Hüsker from their iconic album Zen Arcade, which I always thought was a perfect album to listen to on a road trip, especially if you're headed down south toward the Twin Cities, the place where Hüsker called their home. Next up, I want to play something by my favorite singer-songwriter, which is Billy Bragg. This comes from a reissue of his 2002 release, England Half English by Billy Bragg and the Blokes. This is a 2006 release from a box set that he put out, of which I have a signed copy, and it's a re-release of a number of his later albums with bonus discs attached to each of them. I'm going to play something called the Yarra song, and I love this tune because it's sweet and beautiful. Not only that, but it also makes reference to my favorite and Billy's favorite football club. Enjoy Yarra song by Billy Bragg and the Blokes.
There's a chill tonight on the Yarra. Winter is creeping in, while far away my loved ones wake up in England's spring. And although delights await me all the way to Flinders Street, it's that little piece of heaven with which they must compete. When the Saints take on the Magpies someday too far away. I barrack for St Kilda in that funny game they play, but my heart's not really in it. My mind wanders to a town where the hammers sing. I'm forever blowing bubbles and the rain comes falling down. Yes, it's still raining in England. Guess that's why I like it here. There's a brolly in my hotel room for when the skies are clear, 'cause it never rains in Sydney and it never rains in Perth. Sure, Adelaide's a desert and Brisbane's just scorched earth. So excuse me please, such days as these. Send me to the town where the children sing when St Kilda win and the rain comes falling down. And send me home again where the hammers sing. I'm forever blowing bubbles in the pouring London rain.
Yarra song by Billy Bragg and the Blokes from his 2006 box set. It's volume 2 of this 2-part box set, which includes reissues of William Bloke, Workers' Playtime, Don't Try This at Home in England, Half English. It also includes a DVD called If You've Got a Guest List, which includes live recordings from November of 1991 and May of 2006. My daughter came to me yesterday morning and she said, "Boy, you got a lot of CDs." And I said, "Yeah, and each one tells a story. Go ahead, pick any one off the shelf and I'll tell you a story about it." And she did so, and she chose Smokin with the Chet Baker Quintet. I told her I acquired the album from a student by way of his grandfather, who had unfortunately passed away. This grandfather was a huge, huge fan of jazz music, and they were looking for a good home for a lot of his albums. And among them was Smokin with the Chet Baker Quintet. I also told her the story of Chet Baker and his mysterious death, which happened on my 13th birthday, oddly enough. This is Have You Met Miss Jones from the 1965 Prestige release, Smokin with the Chet Baker Quintet. And finally, I'd like to give you something from Canada's own C.R. Avery. My first introduction to C.R. Avery's music was when I went down to Minneapolis to see Billy Bragg perform, and C.R. was the opening act. I had my mind blown. It was an amazing experience. This track that I'm going to play is from his 2007 release, Magic Hour Sailor Songs. One of the most endearing things about this album is in the liner notes. Right at the bottom of the back page, there's a wee little quip that says, about the author. C.R. Avery was born August 20, 1976. This is his first book of poetry. From Magic Hour Sailor Songs, this is Birdcage.
She had an old barrel house upright. What piano tuners call a birdcage. They're too old to fix, beyond repair, only useful to tone-deaf fugitives and as muted decorations. There's many trinkets on top of this piano birdcage. Pictures in frames, some loose, a jar of pennies, little ceramic animals, and light-coated dust on the piano's driveway. Its lid is down, so its black and white keys are sleeping like little girl dolls under wooden blankets. I'm in my toque and my scarf, staring at this musical family heirloom. Do you know how to orchestrate such a contraption, she asked. Not very well, I replied. I mean, I can bang out a few chords, but no ragtime rabbit out of the hat tricks. And almost like a man who just helped his buddy move or mowed many miles of lawns, or like Stanley Kowalski in Streetcar Named Desire, she nonchalantly removes her shirt in this living of living rooms, of old furniture and this unique antique lamp, which my suitcase is trying to have this big discussion about Hunter S. Thompson, but the lamp's not having it. It is transfixed on her. Man, she even turns on the lamp. She sits on the couch beside me, stretching out her crickety bridge legs on top of my rushing river lap, flowing dangerously below her haunted legs, and the objects in my pocket have already turned to stone. How have your travels been? She asked while getting cozy. I saw Nelson Mandela speak in Trafalgar Square. Well, how was that? Well, there were many birds flying overhead before, during, and after he spoke. What did he talk about? This is the question that leaves me breathless. I stare down at my old Adidas, my hands turn into cranes, picking her bridging the gap, legs off my flowing to Lake Ontario lap. I walk over to the piano as my shoes give weight, and she watches in opera house quiet. I sit at the circle rotating stool. I lift up its lid, and just below middle C, my right hand turns into an ignition, receiving the key. What's this got to do with Nelson Mandela, she asked, and the piano sounds pretty bad. His son just died of AIDS, I replied. I'm trying to remember this funeral march, I know. Birds, thousands of birds fly out from the barrel house piano's cage, fly around the room and out the window. She skates across the room, leans in, and puts her palm on the outside of my pocket, feeling the outline of a stone. What's this, she asks. Oh, that's my Magic Hour Sailor Songs. Her eyebrow goes up in a triangle, expressing, don't be pulling my bridge. I explain. Each night at dusk, when it's too dark to look for food and too early to sleep, we sing in a repetitive rhythmic, 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 chirping that pierces the spirit with badass blues. She pulls out the harmonica from the river's mud, puts it to my teeth and whispers, smooth as a stone, play free as a bird, one who's been banned from religion like love from the F word. Gonna do it for her just so she knows this world will never make muted decoration out of me. Across the room, my suitcase is screaming at that antique lamp. So what, I was born to wander. You're easily unplugged, and fugitives are free. She had an old barrel house upright, what piano tuners call a birdcage.
Beautiful work from the one C.R. Avery from his 2007 release Magic Hour Sailor Songs. I'm just looking at the liner notes here again, and it says that the music for Birdcage is an improvisation in D minor. That's the information he gives us. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the first episode.
I'm going to try to give it to you guys.
Audio Off the Shelf was recorded and produced in a little corner of my basement here in Winnipeg. The Audio Off the Shelf logo was created by Benjamin Crow, based on the original iconic artwork of Donna Parsons. Please send your thoughts, questions, and comments to audioofftheshelf@gmail.com. Also, be sure to follow or tag the podcast on Twitter at AOTS204 or on Instagram at Audio Off the Shelf.